Hello, welcome to the Cognos tutorials, where we have a set of tutorials covering all the aspects of Cognos reporting tool package. So this is our first video on that topic. So what today we'll talk about is different parts of or components of Cognos, which kind of gives you a brief overview. And then from the next videos we'll get into the detail of how to do the modeling, how to create reports, and etc. etc. So let me choose my digital pane. Just give me 1 second. So we have Cognos. Now Cognos mainly have, but before I get into Cognos, so if you think of reports, what report does is that, let's say we have okay, let me choose a free drawing mode. Let's say we have a database which has data, right? So it could be your sales data, it could be inventory data. So this has, and those data are stored in, let's say, tables. And then you have your users in the company who wants to see the reports. And this report could be in Excel, could be in a web page. And then the reporting tool really solve this problem. So what they do, again, these are kind of basic stuff which you already know. Gets the data and publishes it in a user-friendly manner. And so there are basic components of any reporting tool. First one is extraction. So extraction of data. And then there is publishing. Now these are the main components. Now there are other peripheral components. So for example, one could be in access control. For example, who gets to see what? You may not want to expose all your reports to everybody. So there is something called access control. Then 4 is something like scheduler. That means some report could be scheduled to run every day, and some reports could be a sort of ad hoc report. So these are sort of there are other pieces, but I think these are sort of the basic idea. And now we get into Cognos. So let me choose. Let me just erase this part. So we were discussing about different parts of Cognos. So, the basic components of reporting. Now coming down to Cognos. So Cognos does these things through this sort of components. The one is something called your model. What the model does is that it maps your database to something which Cognos can understand, which is a model. So it could be a data model or a business model, which we'll get into details later on. But basically you can think it's some sort of a repository of your data, meaning not actual data, but the structure and the relations of the data. Now, and then it has a component called Report Studio. So what Report Studio does is it interacts with your model and then helps you to create reports. So that means, let's say this is your database, and database has a relation with model, so which basically stores the metadata information of the database, where your Report Studio interacts with that, creates reports, and these are the reports which are accessed by end user. Now there are some additional tools like something called a Query Studio and a Analysis Studio. So these are again a same sort of tools, just like Report Studio, which helps you to create and publish reports. So again, let's go over again on these things. So here you have main components are model, or you create a model using something called a framework manager. Framework manager. So this is a framework manager. Now, so using framework manager, you create a model which contains the database structure information. So for example, let's say if you want to create a report on sales data, so there could be a table called sales table. So your model would have the information about the sales table, meaning the name of the table, the columns, etc., etc. Now some of the column names you can change it in terms of name, so that you want them to appear with a different name. You can use them. You can also define the relations between tables. So those are all done in model using the framework manager. Then the report studio, and there are a set of other tools which you use to create the reports. So that's pretty much the main components of Cognos. Now what we'll do in the next video or next few lessons is that we'll first create a model using the framework manager, and then we'll create some few reports using the report studio.